Have you ever questioned your entire identity and self-worth upon meeting failure or have like a sliver of self-doubt? I have. And I don't know if anyone here experiences it as well, but I want to admit that I still have moments like this. People say to me all the time, Ray, I want to be as confident as you, because they see me on stage and they don't know that I'm not confident all the time. I do have moments where I beat myself up and compare myself with others. And I think it's important for us to talk about this because as we grow older and take on more responsibilities in our careers and in our lives, we become subjected to this invisible rule that society placed on us, that we can no longer lose our shit. We need to adult. And as we climb higher on the corporate ladder and take on leadership roles, we're expected to put up a strong front and have it all together. We're expected to be perfect and to be able to manage our emotions all the time and never break down. And as we become parents or uncles and aunties to our nieces and nephews, we are expected to make the right decisions and always know what to do and have the best intentions for our kids. And I used to have this belief that coaches don't have mind drama and they can always expertly journal, self-coach, reflect, and they'll be okay. And because of that belief, I felt so guilty when I found myself spiraling in a whirlwind of negative thoughts. I felt guilty when I was kind of crippled in self-comparison. And by the way, I have times where I look at someone on social media that is my age or younger than me, who is achieving, in my opinion, a lot more things than me, and I kind of go down this rabbit hole of like stalking them and comparing myself to them. I stalk more because it's addictive. Social media is addictive. And I stalk more because I want to find a reason to think that this person isn't that amazing. You're okay, Ray. And while I think that, another part of my brain is kind of incessantly scolding me, saying, oh my god, you're terrible for thinking that, you're terrible for trying to bring her down in your head. And the more I stalk, the worse I feel. The reality is that social media is a hyper-curated fantasy of someone's life. When you see digital nomads posting about their amazing travels and income opportunities that is not location-based, you don't see the instability, the loneliness, the lack of belonging that they might feel as a result of constantly traveling around. And I would know that because I tried the digital nomad lifestyle for about 6 months last year and I felt all of that. When you see your colleagues getting the opportunities to lead projects at work at a young age, you may not see the evenings of family time or alone time that they might have sacrificed to be where they are now. When you want someone's life, make sure you're aware of the entirety of their life. Ask yourself, am I seeing the full picture, or what am I not seeing? This is exactly why I'm actually creating this video, because I don't want people to think that coaches, people who are in the profession of like guiding people, coaches and mentors, I don't want people to think that coaches, teachers, right, they never are insecure, they never self-doubt, they never have imposter syndrome, they're always perfect. The reality is that we're not, right? And when I was in school, I look up to my teachers and my mentors. I actually thought that they are perfect. Like I never would ever think that my teachers are going through things in their life, because I guess since I was young, we're always taught that the elders know better. Listen to the adults, the adults know better. And this thinking kind of created this expectation for me that as I grow older and as I adult, that I'll need to be able to have it all and be perfect. So that's why I create this video, right? Because I don't want you guys to ever think that way. Nobody is perfect and nobody has it together all the time. Not even your parents, not your leaders, not your mentors, not your coaches. So when you want someone's life, make sure you're aware of the entirety of their life. And if you're only following them on social media and that's the only way you know them, most probably that's not the entirety of their life. Ask yourself, am I seeing the full picture here? Or what am I not seeing? When you find yourself in self-comparison, self-doubt, or your brain is kind of having that debate about whether you're good enough or not, know this: good enough is simply a definition you have inherited from others growing up. There is no real definition of what's good enough or not. As I speak to different people with different cultural upbringings, I see the distinct difference of what good enough may be. When I was in school, I heard from my Indian friends that good enough is getting an A. It had to be getting an A. Their parents told them so. Good enough was getting a prestigious job as a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. When I traveled to Bali and I met this lovely Balinese caretaker of the villa I was staying at, good enough for her was simply being financially independent. She used to be in a physically abusive marriage, but now she's making her own money and earning her own keep. She has one of the most vibrant smiles. And she's so cheery, so positive, and I never knew that about her. So for her, good enough is simply being able to be happy where she's at. Growing up, I had this belief that I'll be happy once I'm successful. I also found myself living according to the definition of success that constantly drained my energy and made me feel so small. I only felt good enough when people told me I was good enough, when social media told me I was good enough, when society's metrics like the awards, the amount of money I earn, when that told me I was good enough. I saw success as getting ahead, being better than my peers. And that's why I was constantly comparing myself with people who are my age or younger than me. I had this belief that the younger you succeed, you are great, right? If you achieve things older, it means that you failed. That was the belief that I was holding on to. That was the belief that I was taught. Success was being successful. Success to me was being successful at a young age. In school, the kids who did exceptionally well were the ones who got the awards. Our teacher will ask the top students to stand up, commend them, and everyone claps for them. And I idolized people perceiving their worthiness solely on one aspect of their life, whether it's grades, beauty, popularity. Living in accordance to this definition of success made me work harder and longer hours without taking time to reflect on my interests or assess the alignment of my goals. It made me want to get ahead of others so I could feel better, so I could feel more successful, so I could feel more worthy, without actually asking myself what I really wanted in the first place. You see, when we work hard, like we were taught to do, without reflecting on what we want in the first place, we're like a car driving at 90 km per hour without any direction. And even if you have a Ferrari engine that sprint up to 341 km per hour, I had to Google that because I don't drive and I don't know that. But even if you have a Ferrari engine that sprints up to 341 km per hour, you'll still end up at the wrong destination because you haven't taken the time to figure out the destination, or you haven't taken the time to key in the GPS system. In this increasingly capitalistic society, we are drilled to be efficient and productive. And it's so easy to work on autopilot as we do. But it's so important to take the time to simply be, to reflect and ask ourselves, am I moving towards the destination that I truly want, or that someone else wants for me? Because otherwise, if you simply just do and not take the time to reflect, looking at other people, wanting what they have based on the 20% of their life that they see, and you work towards that, you might reach the destination and realize that it was nothing like you expected. It's kind of like looking at a travel brochure and choosing to go to the place without actually looking at the Google reviews for the truth of what the place actually is. You spend all the money going there, you drive extra fast going there, and then you realize that what you see in the travel brochure is just 20% of the real place, which is not bad. Okay, I'm not saying that we all need to be 100% perfect, but what I'm saying is that we need to have a realistic view of what we're trying to strive towards, right? You don't want to be jealous of someone's like 20%. You want to know what they're truly going through so that you're able to make an informed decision on whether that goal is actually what you want. So through years of learning, of reflection, of healing, and tons of perspective gained through travel and mentorship, I find that my real definition of success is this: to do work I love, be surrounded by people I love, and to live wherever I want on my own schedule. as much as possible. What is your definition of success? Yesterday I was having a call with someone interested in my coaching program, and I was sharing with him my Own Your Voice methodology in which I used to coach. So the first pillar of my methodology is rewire beliefs, which is the practice of understanding the root incident of your limiting beliefs, holding you back so that you can heal it, creating new beliefs that serve you, and strengthen those beliefs through taking intentional action and building a consistent relationship with your voice through self-coaching and reflection. That is my rewire beliefs pillar, which I believe is the foundation to owning your voice. And then he remarked, he said, Ray, after over a decade of speaking on stages in front of global audiences, I presume you don't really need to do much on the rewire beliefs part. And I said, no, that's not true. At every level you climb to, you'll experience self-doubt and fear. There'll be new people that you can compare yourself to. There'll be new people at the next level, right? Level. I don't even like to use the word level. Every time you step outside your comfort zone and into your growth zone, you need to acknowledge that there is a possibility of failure. The only way to not experience doubt and fear is to stay comfortable, is to stay where you're at. Is to not try new things, is to constantly do what you're already good at. Our critical inner voice will be there. It's not about removing it completely, but rather learning how to respond to it. Our critical inner voice has the ability to hold us back. There's no doubt about that. For example, it's much harder to get ourselves to a job interview when we're still attacking ourselves for losing our last job. And it's much more difficult to lose weight when we're experiencing negative thoughts or our critical inner voice enticing us to indulge and then beating ourselves up for indulging. And this pattern leads to even more distress and a desire to mute that pain with food, or in other cases, muting the pain with Netflix or drinking, etc., etc. And that goes for other areas we want to grow in. When we try to establish a new habit or take a bigger project at work, we open ourselves up to the risk of failure, the risk of even judgment. When that happens, our critical inner voice is there to protect us, to warn us when it perceives danger. The critical inner voice is a well-integrated pattern of destructive thoughts towards ourselves and others. It's there to say and do everything it can to prevent you from being in harm's way. And recently, I was at a store and I bumped into a friend of mine as well as her friend. She introduced me to a friend, and though I usually can start conversations and build rapport with new people easily, for some reason, I don't know if I'm out of practice, I don't know what, but my mind went blank and I spoke in a really awkward way. I was kind of a bit like sheepish. I just felt like I wasn't being confident when I'm meeting that new person. And literally, the second after that incident, I could hear my critical inner voice saying, "Oh, Ray, what kind of expert are you? You teach networking as a profession and you're kind of screwing up. Have you spoken to yourself this way? Will you ever speak to your friend this way? Probably not." Now, if you examine a little closer, you'll realize that your critical inner voice is made up of a jumble of voices that create this harsh monster in your brain. And it could be things people have said to you. For example, your parents or maybe even teachers making harsh remarks. It could have been things that people have said about others. For example, when I was in secondary school, me and my group of friends, us being our childish selves, we'll kind of like sit in a circle during recess and we'll gossip about someone or something. I mean, we have nothing better to talk about, right? We're teenage girls. So we'll gossip about someone else, about very superficial things like their looks or who they're dating. And as they gossip, I would silently remind myself never to be like the person that they're gossiping about. And it could be based on what you see on social media, like the gurus and influencers you follow saying, success is waking up at 5 a.m., blah, 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 blah. And when you don't, you think you suck. You beat yourself up. When your critical inner voice starts dominating your headspace, pause yourself. Change your environment, like sit in nature or just move from being in front of the computer to the couch, anywhere. Just kind of take a break in the state you're in. Anything to disrupt your spiraling thoughts. And ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, how is my critical inner voice trying to protect me? Number 2, what am I not seeing yet? What am I disregarding? Most of the time, our critical inner voice hooks into one negative thing and completely disregards all the other positive things that we enjoy or that we can be grateful for, or the things that we've achieved. And number 3, how can I activate self-compassion? Learn to speak to yourself like a young child. Love and care for yourself. And I want to talk a little bit about how to activate self-compassion because I feel this is so important because so many people, like our maybe sometimes our parents, our mentors, our bosses, our clients, whatever, right? People, they tend to tell us what we can improve on. Sometimes they do encourage us, but I'm a huge proponent of this belief, which is that if you don't love yourself, if you don't support yourself, if you don't affirm yourself, you can't expect anybody to do so, right? The only person that you can count on to be compassionate to yourself is you. You can't expect anybody to do any of that. I mean, they can if they want to, but you can't expect it. So here's how to activate self-compassion. 2 ways. Number 1, allow yourself to feel and to be human. Okay? Allow yourself to feel and be human. You will feel sad, you will feel angry, you will have self-doubt sometimes. It's all part of being human. It's okay to feel. In fact, feeling is a strength. Hold space for yourself to experience your own humanity. Number 2, acknowledge your flaws and traumas and choose to see it through a lens of love. Love is curious. Love seeks to understand before judgment. Have conversations with yourself. Dig deeper and find out why you might be feeling these emotions. There may or may not be a reason, but the point is to communicate with your inner voice and seek to understand it, not try to hate it away. By loving yourself, you're saying, I see you. I acknowledge that you have areas you can choose to grow in, but regardless, you're unique the way you are. Ray, speak to yourself this way. Your personality and your character is the result of your challenges. Without going through those pain that you have been through, you wouldn't have developed your purpose. Without experiencing loss, you wouldn't love your friends and your family as you do today. Without understanding loneliness, you wouldn't be actively listening to the people around you who simply need your presence. And if you find it hard to look at yourself with love, at least acknowledge your immense courage. The very fact that you have showed up for yourself through the tough times is a reflection of your courage. Whether it is showing up by drawing boundaries or doing that presentation at work even when you don't feel perfect, or simply choosing to get out of bed and take a walk when you don't feel good, but you chose to get out of bed. You showed up, and that is courage itself. And with that same courage, you are going to see yourself through this temporary season of self-doubt and knowing that you have people who will love you and support you no matter what. And if nobody has told you this today, I want to tell you this. I love you and I believe in you.